Next.
Yellow. In 2, 1. Cut it.
Yellow done.
Oh my god, I love this.
Last one is red.
There are 2 reds.
The top one. In 2, 1. Now.
Shit.
Oh! Alright guys, so to start off the review, we start off with the campaign. Now right off the bat, you do have to choose a difficulty level. We were going to go with easy and normal, but then FalseLight recommended we go with hard, just to go with a little bit more challenge. And we do recommend, highly recommend, the hard difficulty. You can't just run out and try to ramble the game. You do take a little bit more damage from incoming fire. You do actually have to use surroundings and taking cover, which actually makes for a much better experience.
Echo! He's in shack! 30 meters away! Got a visual! Target! Move now! Movement! Got a visual! Get moving! Get behind that gun nest! Let that fucker out!
One of the unique features in the game this year, which is you can do in the campaign along with the multiplayer, is a wall mounting system. You can use walls, you can use crates, a couple of different surfaces where you can mount your weapon to get a little bit more cover. We highly recommend this in the campaign and in multiplayer, as it gives you a little bit of an edge and you don't take as much damage.
Take northwest! Give us the wall! Where is he? Lost the cover!
Alright guys, so in terms of characters, the game does pretty good in covering the character's background, along with ending most of the character storylines in this campaign. So most of the characters get their storylines resolved for the most part. You will see characters like Captain Price and Kyle Garrick from the previous Modern Warfare, and that is because the events of this story take place before the other Modern Warfares. The game basically revolves around characters Farah and Hadir. Now, their story is basically they were young and their hometown was basically attacked by Russians, and the Russians used chemical warfare against their hometown. So that basically leads them to going up into a rebellion against the Russians.
يلا ولد قدامي جهزوا لي هالكم.
"48 hours ago, terrorists stole a shipment of Russian gas.
Only Al-Qatala would do this.
The Russians make no distinction between Al-Qatala and your people.
And I make no distinction between Al-Qatala and the Russian army. They're both terrorists. We would never use these poisons.
Then help us track it before they...
Before they what? Take it to Europe? Or America? We live like this every day.
So you switch off between Alex and Kyle, two of the characters that you play with mostly throughout the entire campaign, and you team up with Farah and Hadir on your mission to take down Wolf, who ends up being the leader of the Al-Qatala, along with his second-in-command, the Butcher. Only to find out that at the end, you do finish teaming up with Captain Price to take down the main villain behind the scenes, which is Bakarov.
3 minutes.
In 3 minutes, my people will be inside. They will kill all of you.
I chose to take you alive. I could still change my mind.
You have the wrong man.
Lies! Tell them what you've done.
We did not steal the gas.
Who did?
Someone very dangerous.
Where is it?
I wish I knew.
The butcher is outside. They'll burn the city if they have to.
Save yourself, daughter. Join us. Do not talk to her.
Hey! Tap the brakes.
I am not your child, old man. I lead soldiers. You train killers.
But we are all killers here, no?
They're gonna breach. We gotta move now!
One of the big improvements to this year's Call of Duty has to definitely be the visuals and the sounds. Aesthetically, the sounds sound really good, from footsteps when you're doing certain missions to the bullet caskets dropping to the explosions. Sounds sound extremely good. The voice acting is also really well done. For the cutscenes, as an example, have definitely been one of the better cutscenes that I've seen in recent Call of Duties for the most part, and even recent games. You can really see the detail in the face of the characters. You see the movement in their faces, the way their lips move. The lip sync is really good. Overall, the cutscenes have to be one of the better parts of the campaign.
Command has officially redesignated Farah's forces.
You want to translate that from bullshit to English?
It means they're on the list.
What list?
Foreign terror organization list. I've ordered my Marines to treat Farah's army as hostiles.
What? They're our allies.
Yeah, not anymore.
You keep your Muppets on a short string, Colonel.
Or what?
I'll fucking hang you from it.
Kate, these people need our support.
There's nothing else we can do.
Well, there's plenty we can do.
I'm tired of being told who my friends are.
Alex, don't.
I'm going back to Urzikstan, staying with Farah's army.
What you're doing is illegal.
I'm pretty sure everything we do is illegal.
Only the good stuff. You got friends nearby?
You too.
Thank you. For everything.
Well, it's not over yet. Trust me.
I always have.
One of the things the campaign does do is that to prevent players from rushing through each mission, they actually put little roadblocks in between missions.
What? You will end up dying to these roadblocks, and it can lead you to do something like this.
No use to us dead. Small problem.
Really? Modern Warfare's touch in the game is still there, and you can still definitely feel it. You will see casualties on all three sides, whether it's the civilian, the enemies, and even your own comrades.
One of them!
All stations, we have a man with a bomb strapped to him. Keep your distance.
I don't want to die. I want to go home.
Look open!
I want to see my partner. I want to see.
Can you help him? I'm trying. Let me see my girl.
It's going off.
I can't get it.
No time! Help me! Help me! Wait! What are you doing? No! No!
The AI has definitely been an improvement as well in the game. However, it's not near perfect just yet. You will see a couple of bugs here and there with the AI. It has definitely improved from other games, especially on the hardest difficulty, which is why we recommend it.
By the end of the campaign, we did notice that the developers did a different approach with this campaign. They do add missions that feel very different from each other, not really repetitive.
Go around the corner, hug the wall.
Okay, I'm going.
Go back.
Outside. Not only do the stealth missions really make you feel like you're a real-life soldier, but this is where the game's sound really shines.
Target behind the door. X-ray down.
No! No, don't! No!
There's a scene in the movie, that one that I told you that it's really cool, they gotta pay a lot of attention, where it's basically the attack to kill Osama bin Laden, and there's a scene just like that, and the scene, there's a guy like that right there, aiming at the corner. You barely see any movement. He shoots, and you see the body drop. Looks crazy. This just reminded me of it. Like that. That's exactly what I was talking about. So good. Alright guys, so this basically wraps up the campaign segment of the review. Now, for the most part, the story is okay. I'm not going to say that the story was amazing. The problem with the story that I have is that it just feels that it's just another part of the Modern Warfare storyline that was forced to make this game in the first place. You know, you have characters that like Captain Price and Kyle Garrick from the other games that you know basically how they end up. So instead of coming up with a brand new storyline, they decide to extend the Modern Warfare storyline even further and push out this Modern Warfare. So that's my complaint with this storyline for the most part. The storyline isn't bad. It just feels that it was definitely forced and created basically to make this game in the first place.
Not fresh at all.
It definitely does not feel fresh, guys. You run into characters that you already know, and you basically already know what happens to them, so you really don't even care what happens to them in the story, since you already know that they're going to live. Every part that you go through that you think something's going to happen to them, you really know nothing's going to happen because you already know where their story ends up. The only characters you really show some emotion to is Farah and Hadir, and that's only because they give you a little bit more background in this game.
Well, for me, after playing this campaign, you know, he kind of said some of the stuff that I was planning on saying. I didn't really care about certain characters by the end. You know, the campaign tries to make you care about them. However, you don't really know much about them. So, you know, like they're kind of like side characters for the most part. Hadir and Farah, I did care about because, you know, the game actually shows you what happened to them in the past and why they do things in present day. Captain Price, you know, badass as always in other Call of Duty games, so, you know, we already know how his story ends, so, you know, not really a hate or love kind of opinion about him. If you guys have the game, you know, I definitely recommend you guys to play it. But if you guys don't and you guys are looking for a game for a good story or an amazing story, don't waste the $60 on this game. You know, it's not really worth $60 alone for just the campaign. But if you guys have it, definitely play it.
Alright guys, so now we're going to get into the co-op. Now for the most part, the co-op is an addition to this year's game. Personally, I don't really see there's a need for it. There are some things about the co-op that can be useful, but very little. To start off, the survival. Now, the survival, for the most part, is your standard survival from Modern Warfare 3 that they had. However, in this game, it's really easy to ambush the AI. You can really take advantage of their spawn points and just mow them down, no problem. There's only about 30 enemies that come in waves at the very beginning up to level 15, and then after that you start getting a couple of juggernauts and stuff like that. Make it a little bit more challenging, but for the most part it's pretty straightforward and basic. There's nothing really, you know, too crazy about the survival mode. The Spec Ops is a lot more challenging, so you definitely do need to play it with friends if possible. It is a lot harder, and it's harder for no reason. There really is no reward at the end. You really they don't even tell you good job, soldier, or anything like that. You literally just get on the chopper and leave, and that's it. Like, you weren't even supposed to be there in the first place. Oh shit, finally. All right. Now getting into the Spec Ops. Now the Spec Ops definitely has to be one of the harder modes out of the survival. It's same thing based. You basically have to deal with waves of enemies. My biggest problem with the Spec Ops is that it's literally the same animation for the incoming waves. You see them use the same trucks. They get off the same way. They don't even approach you from a different angle. It's literally the same area they attack you from. So it's really repetitive. There is basically no reward for the time being. The rewards are supposed to be coming in November. So as of now, there's really no point in playing the mode. It is a lot more difficult right off the back than the survival. If you don't have a couple of friends playing with you, playing with randoms can get a little difficult in terms of in terms of communication. There's a need for it. There are some things about the co-op that can be useful, but very little. To start off, the survival. Now, the survival, for the most part, is your standard survival from Modern Warfare 3 that they had. However, in this game, it's really easy to ambush the AI. You can really take advantage of their spawn points and just mow them down, no problem. There's only about 30 enemies that come in waves at the very beginning up to level 15. And as of now, there's really no point in playing the mode. It is a lot more difficult right off the back than the survival. If you don't have a couple of friends playing with you, playing with randoms can get a little difficult in terms of in terms of communication. Playing the Spec Ops modes without friends can be a little bit challenging since the communication can be a little bit annoying with the reviving and whatnot. The Spec Ops is a lot more challenging, so you definitely do need to play it with friends if possible. It is a lot harder. And it's harder for no reason. There really is no reward at the end. You really they don't even tell you good job, soldier. All these shots and still not down. So yeah, guys, that basically covers up the co-op portion of the review. Public match, you have some missions with some action, nothing too crazy. Survival is a little bit too easy here and there, but you know, there's really, I mean, if you want to do PvE, that's fine, go ahead. Spec Ops, like I said, it's too much work, not enough reward, and there's still no reward as of now. Probably when this review goes up, there probably still isn't anything to get from doing the Spec Ops, so there's really no point in even doing it at the moment. The AI in the modes overall is pretty basic. They're not really challenging, and they can get a little dumb here and there. There really is no point in playing the co-op. You're not missing much if you skip on it, to be honest.
Alright guys, so now we're going to move to the multiplayer section of the review, and there has been a couple of improvements on this year's multiplayer, but not so many. So as usual, you know, you have your standard game modes, you know, Team Deathmatch, Domination, Search and Destroy, stuff like that. A mode that they did bring back, but did it slightly different, is Cyber Attack, which is basically an old game mode used to be called Demolition. But it's mixed with Search and Destroy. So, you know, you guys only get one life, and this is the only game mode when you guys are actually allowed to revive each other. And it's really unfortunate that they didn't bring the reviving animation from the co-op's public match, which kind of, you know, makes it weird when you're just standing over your dead teammate's body and waiting for a bar to fill up. They also added a new game mode, Ground War. So this new game mode, you know, it does have its pros and cons. So, you know, one of the pros is that, you know, it's 32 versus 32. You know, Call of Duty has never had a game mode with this many players in it. And, you know, when you load in, you know, there's actually a nice cutscene. You know, you see your teammates landing in helicopters, getting off in trucks. They added vehicles in this game mode, so you'll literally see like helicopters dropping off the you know, the different tanks that they have. They have ATVs now for transportation, and they do have little birds.
Hijack this shit.
Annihilate the enemy.
So before you even actually get in a game, you have to play with 3 friends or less. You know, the game does not allow you to enter this game mode with, you know, a party of 6 players or 8 players. You know, yeah, it might be 32 versus 32, but you're restricted to play with 3 other friends. And even if you guys do get into the same mode somehow, you still can't be in the same squad. You know, all the squads are down to only 4 people in each squad, and you really can't even create your own squad, you know, to communicate better with your friends. Another issue you will run into in this game mode is that there is no reviving. So, you know, Call of Duty has always had a very short time to kill, and in a game mode where it's 32 versus 32, it's almost, you know, necessary to have this mechanic. You know, it's very hard to, you know, get from one objective to the other. You know, it's very hard to even leave your spawn when the enemy is pushing you. So, you know, the fact that there is no revive mechanic, you know, they should have really added it into this game mode. Another thing we did notice after playing Ground War for some time was the use of vehicles. Now, yeah, you know, they did add vehicles to this game mode. However, there's actually nothing to show for it towards the end of a match. You know, you don't even get, you don't unlock skins for them. You can't change the weapons on them. When you get in these vehicles, you know, you have the main cannon and a secondary, which is just 2 missiles, and after using those 2 missiles, they don't even reload. Like, that's all you have, just 2 missiles, and you'll literally, like, if you use them, you'll just be standing there reloading your main cannon. Another issue with Ground War is the sound. Now, that doesn't mean that the sound is bad or anything like that. It's just so much that you have going on. You know, you're in a building, you know, you hear so many footsteps above you. You got tanks around the building, you know, shooting. You have the operator calling out all these kill streaks coming in. You go outside, you see 6 UAVs in the air, AC-130s dropping off care packages, people driving, flying around with the little birds. It's really hard to distinguish what's near you and, you know, what can actually kill you.
And if you were to ever to look at the field from afar towards the end, you have 30 kill streaks being called in at once, and it just looks ridiculous. The people call in AC-130s and they disappear mid-flight. You can just tell that the game is not meant to support a game mode like this. Yeah,
fuck you. Yeah, Clay is a good, like, some characters, right?
Yeah. Can't even see the guy though.
One of the things that really surprised me in this year's Call of Duty was the amount of options for the weapon customization. So, as in every Call of Duty, you know, you have your rifles, your shotguns, your SMGs, and all those different weapons. However, they did a huge improvement on actually customizing the weapons themselves. Compared to other Call of Duties, you were never actually had the option to customize things such as the muzzle, the stock, you know, the rear grip, you know, the lasers, you know, so they really stepped their game up this year. For example, the lasers. Back in other CODs, you were only actually allowed to either pick a laser sight or not have one at all. However, you know, for example, this, you know, you have 3 different types of lasers and they actually affect your weapon in different ways. And that's the same thing for every other attachment for the guns. And then you have your secondary weapon, as always, you know, and it has the same amount of customization option as the primary weapon. You also have your perks, which some are from previous Call of Duties, and they have one or two that are different. A perk that I actually recognize from Modern Warfare 3 that I'm actually really happy that they put in this Call of Duty is Point Man, which is basically it changes your kill streaks into score streaks. So you no longer have to worry about getting 8 kills without dying for you to get a kill streak. You have your different type of kill streaks from UAVs to care packages and stuff like that. And right here is what I was pointing out earlier, that if you press R2, you actually see what score you need to actually get kill streaks for that perk that I pointed out earlier, which is really helpful because, you know, the time to kill in this game is so short that this perk is really good to have. A nice little addition that they added to this year's Call of Duty was the field upgrades. This can either act as like sort of a additional kill streak or like a perk. For example, right here you have a munition box that gives you more ammo if needed, compared to Dead Silence, which kind of acts like a perk, which temporarily silence your footsteps. So that's really a little nice new addition that they added to this game. Then you have the armory, which is basically linked to the barracks. It's having to do with the orders. So you basically go over here. Right here you have your daily orders, and then you have your missions. Now the way this works is you have to complete certain missions to get certain amount of XP and unlock different calling cards. And apart from that, you can actually use this to get certain weapon unlocks that come with attachments. So for example, we go all the way to the last one, and you know, you have to get 30 kills with a pistol using an optic, and you unlock a handgun with attachments on it. An example of unlocking a weapon with attachments is over here. Let's go to create a class, go to weapon, and right here you'll see it right next to whichever gun you unlocked it on, and it already comes with attachments on it. Now this is probably the biggest issue I had with the game. So right here there's an operator section, and you either choose between the allegiance or the coalition, and this is basically your character creator, and it's really restricted and linear. Like you literally only pick a character that's already customized for you. And I mean, their terms of customizing would be just selecting a different outfit, which really doesn't make your character feel unique. You know, you load into a game and you pretty much look the same as everybody in that game. So, you know, you really don't feel any different from every soldier that's in the game. I feel like it would have been way better if we were able to create our character and, you know, be able to unlock different helmets, vests, scarves, and things like that to, you know, make us feel more connected to our character. But unfortunately, they didn't decide to take that step.
You feel connected to your weapon, but not to your character.
Basically.
Alright guys, so that basically wraps up the last segment of the review. Now, in terms of the multiplayer, there are definitely some things that they added this time around and improved on in terms of customization, especially for the weapon. The character is a little bit bare bones. You can only change outfit, like we mentioned earlier, so that's a negative on my side. Ground War is more of a negative than a positive. It's good that they have the game mode, but the game mode is really bare bones. The engine that they have is not built to support that type of game mode. Overall, there's not that many gameplay modes. You have your typical modes that you've had for Call of Duty for all these years. They haven't added anything new. The only new mode this year is Ground War and Cyber Attack for the most part. I can see this getting boring really quickly. I don't see people playing this more than a couple of months at most. The people who are riding the wave now from launch are probably going to stop, you know, in the coming month or so. I don't really see this game really being a durability played game. I'm going to make a comparison, and I know they have nothing to do with each other. I know they have different play styles. I'm just going to use Fortnite as an example. Fortnite has been a game that has always been updated, you know, with seasons, with you know, with season passes and all this stuff. Call of Duty's never had, or Activision for the most part, or the developers for the game have never had that reputation for constantly updating their game. So I don't see that update schedule for Modern Warfare.
Me personally, I do have mixed feelings about this new multiplayer. You know, the Ground War feels fun at first. However, after playing it for a while, you feel how much work it actually needs. You still have the same modes that Call of Duty has always given us for years. The weapon customization was a plus. I really liked it, and I hope to see it in future Call of Duties. I also really liked the fact that they added the field upgrades. You know, that really was like a nice little feature. You know, it's really helpful in game modes, and I hope they keep that going. Kill streaks feel good as always, as in every Call of Duty. They should really work on character customization. You know, like I'm really sick and tired of Call of Duty always giving us these standard soldiers. You know, we should be able to customize our characters. Like I said, you know, different book bags, helmets, you know, things like that. So we feel more connected to our characters the same way we feel connected to our weapons.
So yeah, guys, so that's basically wraps up the review for Modern Warfare. I do have to say that the game is okay for the most part. The campaign is not bad. The multiplayer is typical COD multiplayer, real arcade feeling to it. You do get a good feeling with kill streaks and stuff like that, but you know, there's nothing more there than that. It's, you know, your usual Call of Duty. If you're a COD fan and you enjoy the arcade play style, you're definitely going to be a fan of this. If you're riding the wave now, you're definitely going to be enjoying it for a couple of weeks. But I don't see it going any further than that. And the co-op is definitely a mode that there isn't much to do at right now, unless they give you some really good rewards towards the end. But that's to be determined. One of my main issues with the game in general, it has to be where certain things are located. And by that I mean, in co-op you have the revive animation that's only in co-op. It's not in multiplayer. And the fact that you don't have revive in general in ground war, one of their biggest modes this year, is definitely a problem to me. The visuals in the campaign are really good. However, I wish they would apply those same visuals in the multiplayer. With these huge maps, the smaller ones is not that much of a problem, but the big maps, it just doesn't look as good as it does in the campaign. I guess by the standards of Call of Duty, that's fine, but you know, there's definitely games that have looked way better in the past.
The campaign was good. It wasn't terrible, but I think it could have been better. You know, it has its you know, cliche moments in it. It kind of dragged on a little bit. The characters were interesting, but not all of them. And none of the characters really made me feel anything towards them. You know, like Ghost from Modern Warfare 2, you know, I was very emotional when he died. But none of the characters made me feel the same way. Multiplayer definitely, you know, had its improvements. Multiplayer did have improvements this year. However, they could have worked on a few things. You know, the weapon customization was perfect. I like that they added field upgrades. You know, it made my class feel very unique. They definitely should have a better operator customization. You know, I really didn't feel, you know, any different from anyone else playing the new Modern Warfare. We only got one new mode this year, and two of the other modes were the same thing, you know, team deathmatch. The only difference is, you know, 6 players compared to 10 players. You know, I feel like they should have added more unique modes for basically to make us feel like they actually added new modes and not just have recycled modes. The co-op, honestly, you Xbox players are not missing out on much. You know, survival is the same thing as Modern Warfare 3. Spec Ops, you play on the same map against the same enemies coming in from the same direction. And public match, the missions really aren't that fantastic, so you guys really aren't missing out on much.
Alright guys, so one of the things that we forgot to mention is this was all recorded on a PS4. So for the graphic part that we were mentioning earlier, for the PC players, you probably don't have that issue at all. Because I know you guys definitely play on higher frames than we do, so you know that really doesn't apply to you guys. But console players are probably definitely going to see the visuals that we're talking about. So basically, for all you pro players that have definitely played every Call of Duty in the past and have gone every single one since release, you probably already have the game. So for the most part, if you haven't tried the campaign, that would be something worth trying if you like the Modern Warfare lineage. For the gamers out there, if you guys are looking for a campaign, or if you guys like the Modern Warfare campaign and are looking to look into multiplayer, definitely recommend to wait for a price drop, guys. You have Black Friday right around the corner, so definitely wait for the game to be a little bit more accessible, and then definitely get it then. And for the new players who have never played a Call of Duty game before, definitely wait, guys. Just don't go into the wave now. Definitely wait a little bit. Wait for Black Friday. The game will definitely go down in price, hopefully, and then it would be worth it. For the total value of $60, I don't think it's worth $60. Obviously, a AAA game like this will definitely not come out at $60. If it was to be at $40, I would definitely say it's worth the $40. But I don't really think in terms of the content and everything that it has, it's worth the $60. For a price drop, definitely, but not the $60. Alright guys, so if you guys liked the video, drop us a like. That'd be really well appreciated. If you guys want to leave any notes or any comments, obviously there's a comment section. Definitely drop a comment. And if you guys really like the video, drop a subscribe. That would really help us out. Appreciate it, guys, as always. Thank you guys for watching the video. And hopefully we see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.
Later.
Tea?
Yeah, well, I'm a long way from a proper pint.
Russia disowned Barkov.
Well, they didn't have much choice, did they? He's dead.
You took a big bite out of that problem, John.
For now. But left unchecked.
It won't be. General Shepard pulled the files you asked for. What exactly is this about?
A task force.
We already have loose ends.
Then I will tie them.
I can fund assets, not outlaws.
Enjoy the tea, then.
Sakayev wants Barkov's throne.
I almost buried him in Pripyat with Macmillan.
That was the father. This is the son, Victor.
Lovely family.
They're big fans of Hadir's.
Well, that would explain why he's still alive.
They're gonna get him out.
Then give me what I need.
Who's your crew?
Sergeant Garrick.
Kyle?
They call him Gaz. He never said anything. John McTavish, SAS, sniper, demolitions, goes by SOAP.
Why?
It's classified. There he is. Simon Riley.
There's no picture.
Never. Now the rest. That's neat to know. Unless we got a deal.
What are you calling this task force?
141.
Oh shit, bro! That's crazy.